bandits. And abroad, China signs agreement with Tanzania, Zambia to complete decade-old project. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on the list tonight. My name is Enes Yap. The state governor, Honorable Sheriff Oborowori, has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to supporting initiatives driven by alumni associations to transform public schools' education and infrastructure. Governor Oborowori stated this during a meeting with members of the Government College Ueli Old Boys Association, where Price Watercarver made a presentation for a possible concession of the school management to the association of the Government House, Asaba. Butu has details.
Sheriff Oborowori, represented by the State Deputy Governor, Sir Monday Oyeme, said the initiative by the Government College Old Boys to concession the school to the association was in a bid to restore the lost glory of the institution that was nationally and globally recognized. The governor lauded the presentation by the school for the proposed concession, adding that it was heartwarming to note that they had examples of schools that have been concessioned and were doing well. Governor Oborowori said if the proposal for the concession of the school was approved by the government, it would reposition the school for greater academics and sports excellence as well as high discipline among others. He lauded the Government College Old Boys Association for their interest in ensuring that the standard for which the school was known academically was restored, judging from the fact that academics and infrastructures have degenerated. The governor commended the Old Boys Association for its tireless in contributing to the academic and infrastructural development of the alma mater, affirming that the school had produced notable Nigerians who have distinguished themselves in different spheres of life.
We are trying to restore an institution that was about number one in the past, and it has degenerated over the years. You want to bring it back to that enviable height that will be pride of the older ones. And there is no doubt with the caliber of people who went through that institution that are here today, and even some that the PG mentioned that could not come. There's no doubt about your capacity to bring back and restore the glory, the old glory of Government College Ueli.
The President General Worldwide Government College Old Boys Association, Olusegun Albert Akpomuje, a senior advocate of Nigeria SAN, said the school was founded on January 17, 1945 and had excelled in academics, sports and other areas of strength. He said over the years, the infrastructures in the school had deteriorated, while academic excellence for which the school was known had also declined, and appealed to the state government that the school should be concessioned to the Old Boys Association like the government colleges in Umuahia and Ibadan, and were doing well. Olusegun Akpomuje said if concessioned, the Old Boys Association would take over the management of the school, noting that the association had spent over 2 billion naira over the years for academic and infrastructural development.
The falling standard of the school became a big source of concern to the Old Boys. As a first step, funds were raised for Old Boys to fix some of the dilapidated structures, which process is still ongoing. Dikin Onosede, during his tenure as President General in 2007, which was on the possibility of approaching the Delta State government to concession or have partnership arrangement with the association to take over the running and management of the school.
A presentation by the Head Strategy Consulting Price Water Cooper, Mrs. Mary Iwelumo, gave a detailed analysis of the present state and future of the school, adding that the Old Boys Association had the capacity to take Government College Ueli to greater heights academically, among others. Some of the old boys that attended the meeting included the immediate past President General Worldwide Architect Charles Majoro, Chief Sam Amuka, publisher of the Vanguard newspaper, who belongs to the 1949 set, and two former heads of service, Delta State, Sir Simeon Ifenudu and Mr. Patrick Origo, among others. I am Pere Botu reporting.
The State House of Assembly has passed the 2023 amended revised appropriation bill. Also at plenary, the Prevention and Prohibition of Destruction and Vandalization of Public Properties and Assets Bill passed second reading. Favor Okafo has details.
Plenary, the Prevention and Prohibition of Destruction and Vandalization of Public Properties and Assets Bill scaled second reading after its lead sponsor and member representing Okwe constituency, Honorable James Agoye, moved a motion that it be read the second time. Speaking on the merits of the bill, Honorable Agoye said the bill, which is made up of 6 parts and 53 clauses, aimed to provide for the prevention and protection of public properties in the state. He said the bill clearly spelled out penalties for any offender. Other lawmakers who supported the bill opined that the bill, when passed into law, would not only create consciousness in the minds of Deltans about the implications of destroying government properties, but would also help government generate revenue.
And so, therefore, since these facilities are in our state, it is our responsibility to protect them to the letter.
The bill was then referred to the House Committee on Rules, Ethics, Legal and Judicial Matters to report back on the 25th. The Registration of Private Veterinary Clinics Amendment Bill, which also came under consideration, was referred back to the House Committee on Bills by the Speaker to report back in 2 weeks. The Speaker had earlier informed the House of letters received from 2 local government chairmen stating the nomination of secretaries for their councils. He then charged nominees to submit 35 copies of their curriculum vitae to the Office of the Clerk on or before Monday next week and appear for screening on Tuesday, September 10. Favor Okafo reporting.
Communities and associations in the state have been told to support the more agenda of Governor Sheriff Oborowori in order to attract development. The Special Advisor to the State Governor on Peace Building and Conflict Resolution, Chief Edwin Uzo, stated this during a meeting with the people of Ohanese Ndibo, Delta South and Delta Central at the Annex House at Jebawari. Henry Onogwa reports.
Chief Uzo said the meeting was as a result of a letter on the impeachment of the leadership of Ohanese Ndibo, Delta South and Central over alleged maladministration and the misappropriation of the organization's fund. He noted that the disputed parties had narrated their own side of the matter and assured them of the state government's commitment to restore peace to the association. The special advisor enjoined the aggrieved parties to sustain the existing peace the organization was known for, adding that the state governor wants all residents to live in peace.
It has taken us several hours, but we are not able to conclude. We've taken statements from everybody, we have from all parties. Everybody has explained. The chairman, they said they've impeached, we heard from him. The ESCO and the leaders who does the impeachment, we heard from them. The other people who are saying no, that the impeachment did not follow the process, we also have heard from them. On the whole, we heard from all parties, and we decided to adjourn the meeting for another day for we to be able to tell them our position, for we to be able to advise them in going forward.
Chief Uzo stressed on the need for the Ohanese Ndibo, especially the leadership, to desist from anything that would promote disunity. He charged them to maintain peace and carry out their business activities peacefully, adding that the state governor, Honorable Sheriff Oborowori, has zero tolerance for crises and adjourned the meeting for a later date.
You have done well, greatly well. You have done well to manage the bill. You have done well to come here.
Henry Onogwa reporting.
The need for the localization of the Sustainable Development Goals in the state has been emphasized. The Secretary to the State Government, Dr. Kingsley Emu, stated this when he received a delegation of the management of the Federal University of Petroleum Resources Center for Sustainable Development at the SSG complex in Asaba. Dr. Emu said local resources in terms of human capital and environmental resources should be deployed to domesticate the Sustainable Development Goals. He charged the academia to utilize the supportive environment provided by the state government in carrying out their research. The SSG promised to work with the center to ensure that implementation of the sustainable goals become a reality in the state. Among other members of FUPRI CSD on the visit were the Center Director, Dr. Emeka Elemike, Deputy Director, Dr. Okezi Odugala, and SDG Consultant, Ms. Augusta Kenebo. And the state government has directed all public and private primary and secondary schools in the state to resume on Monday, September 9, for the commencement of the 2024-2025 first-term academic activities, except Oshimili South Local Government Area, which resumption date would now be Monday, September 23. A statement from the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, Mr. Augustine Ororo, on behalf of the State Commissioner for Primary Education, Dr. Kingsley Ashibogo, and his counterpart in charge of secondary education, Mrs. Rose Ezeu, said that borders would resume on Sunday, September 8. According to the statement, the extension of the resumption date for all private and public primary and secondary schools in Asaba and environ was as a result of the 8th edition of the National Youth Game scheduled to hold in Asaba from Monday, September 9 to Thursday, September 19. It stated that some schools in Asaba, including West End Miss Secondary School, Government Model Secondary School, Unity Secondary School in the Capital Territory, and Osadeni Secondary School, have been designated for use as hostels and venues for the games. The statement noted that classes would begin on Monday, September 9, after the cleaning of the classes and the school premises by the learners under the supervision of their teachers for schools in other parts of the state, with the exception of schools in Asaba that will resume on Monday, September 23. It urged school heads and teachers in the state to comply with the directive and ensure that they were in their duty posts to discharge their statutory responsibility. The statement also advised parents and guardians to get their children and wards prepared for school resumption. It said that the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education would conduct resumption tests for the learners in public primary and secondary schools on Thursday, September 12, and their marks would form part of the assessment tests. The statement warned that the ministry would not condone any act by the teachers contrary to the directive, stressing that the two commissioners and the permanent secretary would lead staff of Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education to monitor the level of compliance across the state. The Minister of State, Ministry of Youth Development, Mr. Ayodele Olawande, said President Bola Tinubu has approved the establishment of the Youth House in Abuja, a gathering place to address the needs of young and individuals from diverse cultural and social backgrounds. He said the goal of the Youth House would be to help bring the government closer to the youths and help the younger individuals develop important life skills such as leadership, teamwork, cooperation, and communication. Adding that the initiative would involve the Youth House in FCT, the Youth House in state capitals, and the Youth Greenhouse in all the council areas. Mr. Olawande commended the President for his ongoing support for the youth, saying that the renewed agenda has tangibly benefited Nigerian youths. Mr. Olawande said the Greenhouse will be located in all the 774 local government areas. And the federal government, through the Minister of Defense, Dr. Bello Matawalle, has vowed to flush out bandits and other criminal gangs terrorizing Northwest in compliance with President Bola Tinubu's directives to troops of Joint Operation Hadarin Daji. This came as the Minister of Defense, the Chief of Defense Staff CDS General Christopher Musa, and other top military officials arrived Sokoto with the aim of leading a military onslaught against the bandits and other criminals ravaging the Northwest region. Speaking after a closed-door meeting with the operation commanders of Joint Operation Hadarin Daji at 8th Division Headquarters Sokoto, Dr. Bello Matawalle said the Ministry of Defense would provide all needed support and encouragement to the troops in the war against terrorists in the Northwest. He stated that in compliance with the presidential directives to flush out terrorists and other criminal gangs terrorizing Northwest, adding the operation would bring an end to criminal activities in the region. In his remarks, Governor Liu of Sokoto State said his administration would partner the Ministry of Defense and Nigerian Armed Forces in the fight against security challenges in the Northwest. Dr. Matawale commended the military's efforts in the fight against banditry. And no fewer than 3,590 inmates across custodial centers in Nigeria are under death row. The Nigerian Public Relations Officer in the Nigerian Correctional Service, Assistant Controller of Corrections Abubakar Umar, explained that the majority of inmates in custody were awaiting trial, which posed a significant challenge. He gave an assurance that the service was taking new steps to address the issue and ensure timely judicial processing for persons awaiting trial. Mr. Omar stated that the total number of inmates in centers across the country was 84,741, comprising 82,821 males and 1,920 females, while the total number of awaiting trial inmates was 57,750,000, comprising 56,303 males and 1,447 females. And the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has dismissed claims of plans to regulate the prices of food items and other commodities in the Nigerian market. In a statement by its Director of Special Duties and Strategic Communication, Mr. Ondaje Ijabu, said the recent directives were solely aimed at curbing exploitative practices and maintaining a competitive marketplace. He said that the Commission's role was not to control prices, but to ensure that the market operates fairly, adding that while external factors such as foreign exchange fluctuations and the removal of fuel subsidies had significantly impacted pricing, does not justify unfair practices that exploit consumers. The FCCPC reassured the business community that its actions was not intended to suppress private enterprise, but to protect consumers from harmful practices. The Director General of the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association (NECA), Mr. Adewale Smart Oyerinde, has described the new hike in pump price of premium motor spirits, also known as petrol, as worrisome and unfair. Mr. Oyerinde said, rather than addressing the fundamentals that had made Nigeria a net importer of petrol with 4 refineries, the federal government had continued to inflict pain on Nigerians. He stated that the government was advertently contributing to the increase in costs of doing business. The NECA Director General advised the federal government to have a rethink and do all that is required to address the continuous impoverishment of Nigerians and incapacitation of organized businesses. As the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPC) increased the new pump price of PMS to 897 naira per litre. The Ministerial Task Force charged with the responsibility of addressing alleged illegal private commercial activities of charters has said the probe would begin tomorrow. The Vice Chairman of the Task Force, Mr. Roland Iyayi, disclosed that the probe would begin with an interview phase. Mr. Iyayi said the invitation to those interviews have not been formally sent out, but specific entities suspected of illegal activities had already been identified. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Mr. Festus Keyamo, in June, had earlier inaugurated a ministerial task force on illegal private charter operations, noting that it will be engaged in taking inventory of all private non-commercial flight holders and air operator certificate holders. The action was prompted by numerous complaints of money laundering and illegal drug smuggling activities by legitimate commercial air charter operators and alarming security reports from the country's security agencies. The task force was given a 3-month deadline to complete its report and submit its funds to the ministry. According to the minister, the committee would, among others, help to determine why the practice of illegal charters by PNCF holders persists in the country despite regulatory controls. And still to come, China signs agreements with Tanzania, Zambia to complete decade-old project. These and more when we return. Please stay tuned. Thank you so much for staying tuned. You're watching the Delta Television Main News. The global scene is next as we join our World News Desk.
Tanzania and Zambia signed an initial agreement to rehabilitate a decades-old railway aimed at improving the rail sea transportation in resource-rich East Africa. President Xi Jinping witnessed the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding on refurbishing the 1,860 kilometers Tanzania-Zambia Railway Authority, TAZARA, with the Tanzanian and Zambia presidents who were in Beijing attending the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation. The single-track TAZARA Railway was built between 1970 and 1975 through an interest-free loan from China, offering a cargo transport route from Zambia's copper and cobalt mines to the sea on Tanzania's coast that bypasses South Africa and the former state of Rhodesia. Commercial operations of the line derided by some Western governments at the time as the Bamboo Railway began in 1976. The multi-year project had involved the construction of 24 tunnels and hundreds of bridges by tens of thousands of Chinese and African workers. Earlier this year, the World Bank approved $270 million in financing to help improve connectivity between neighbors Tanzania and Zambia and boost regional trade. In February, China proposed to spend $1 billion to rehabilitate the rail line through a public-private partnership model. The United States has charged Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar and several other prominent figures in the Palestinian group in connection with its deadly attack in Israel on October 7 last year. The Justice Department said it was indicting 6 Hamas members with 7 charges, including the murder of dozens of U.S. citizens, conspiracy to finance terrorism, and the use of weapons of mass destruction. The criminal complaint covers decades of alleged attacks by Hamas, as well as last October's unprecedented assaults. It is the first step by U.S. law enforcement to hold accountable the ringleaders of that attack, but has been seen by analysts as partly symbolic, not least because some of those named in the indictment are already dead. Meanwhile, Sinwar is believed to be hiding in tunnels somewhere under Gaza. In a video statement yesterday, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland said that defendants were responsible for financing and directing a decades-long campaign to murder American citizens and endanger the security of the United States.
On October 7th, Hamas terrorists murdered nearly 1,200 people, including over 40 Americans, and kidnapped hundreds of civilians. They perpetrated the deadliest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. This weekend, we learned that Hamas murdered 6 more hostages, including Hirsch Goldberg Poland, a 23-year-old Israeli American.
Mr. Garland said the group also led Hamas' efforts to destroy the state of Israel and murder civilians in support of that aim. He highlighted the 7 October attack on Israel by Hamas, in which the group murdered entire families in the deadliest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Dmytro Kuleba, has stepped down from his role as part of a wide-ranging reshuffle of the Ukrainian cabinet. Several Ukrainian officials also resigned from their posts, leaving some of the government's top jobs vacant, including the Strategic Industry Minister in charge of weapons production. The parliamentary leader of the ruling Servant of the People Party said half of the cabinet will be changed in a major government reshuffle this week. Mr. Kuleba, who is the most senior of the ministers to resign, has been in post since March 2020. Member of Parliament Ms. Ina Sovsu told journalists that there were no questions about Mr. Kuleba's efficiency and that she was not aware of any disagreements between him and President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Let's now join our business news desk for happenings in the business sector.
Banks' credit to private sector CPS rose month-on-month by 3.1% or 2.3 trillion naira to 75.5 trillion naira in July 2024 from 73.2 trillion naira recorded in June this year. Data from the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) shows that year-on-year CPS rose 34% to 75.5 trillion naira in July 2024 from 56.46 trillion naira in the corresponding period of 2023. The CPS includes loans, trade credits, and other account receivables and support provided by banks to the private sector within the period. CPS is a global measure of the banking sector's balance sheet resilience and contribution to national economic agenda. There are indications that another round of naira depreciation has set in following renewed demand pressure amidst widening supply gap. The naira yesterday depreciated to 1,635 naira per dollar in the parallel market from 1,625 naira per dollar last weekend. However, data from FMDQ Exchange showed that the indicative exchange rate for Nigeria Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market (NAFEM) fell to 1,585.77 per dollar from 1,598.56 naira per dollar last weekend. Consequently, the margin between the parallel market and NAFEM rates widened to 49.23 naira per dollar from 26.44 naira per dollar last weekend. The renewed pressure rate in the parallel markets, according to dealers, was due to decline in dollar supply at the official end of the market mirrored by NAFEM.
And now our thought for the day. In times of hardship and adversity, it is natural to feel overwhelmed or disheartened by challenges. However, it is crucial to remember that tough times are often temporary and they pave way for better days ahead. And now that's the report, but just before we go, we'll bring you the highlights. The State Governor, Honorable Sheriff Oborowori, has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to supporting initiatives driven by alumni associations to transform public schools' education and infrastructure. Governor Oborowori stated this during a meeting with members of the Government College Ureli Old Boys Association at the Government House, Asaba. Communities and associations in the state have been told to support the more agenda of Governor Sheriff Oborowori in order to attract development. The Special Advisor to the State Governor on Peace Building and Conflict Resolution, Chief Edwin Uza, stated this during a meeting with the people of Ohanese and Libo, Delta South and Delta Central at the Annex House, Ejeba, Wari. The federal government, through the Ministry of Defense, Dr. Bello Matawale, has vowed to flush out bandits and other criminal gangs terrorizing Northwest in compliance with President Bola Tinubu's directives to troops of Joint Operation Hadarin Daji. And abroad, China, Tanzania, and Zambia have signed agreements to rehabilitate decades-old projects. That's the size of our bulletin tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I am Eunice Emiazia. Good night.